What's up guys, this is my crossover. I'm back with another episode of What If Naruto Was the Red Flash Part 10. And if you did enjoy this video, give this video a like, and if you're new to my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more crossover fictions with twist. Now let's begin this new video.
He was in his office, downing another glass of whiskey with no ice. He wanted to feel the burn of the alcohol. In one day, his entire military career was torpedoed by a kid with spiky blonde hair. His entire battalion was under investigation as well. His science team was fired and all his research was either public knowledge or erased, so he had no leverage to offer them or something to use against Harrison Wells. He was screwed and he was beyond pissed. All of a sudden a yellow blur grabbed him and he found himself thrown onto hard concrete. Eiling coughed up a lung and threw up the whiskey he just drank as he took in his surroundings. Judging by the darkness, size, running water and smell, he was in a sewer. He turned and saw a vibrating figure in a yellow-black outfit with glowing red eyes. "It's good to see you again, General." "Who are you?" Eiling asked. "Who am I?" The figure stopped vibrating and removed his mask to reveal it was Harrison Wells. "Harrison, you're one of them. A metahuman," Eiling said in anger. "Yes, I am. And I protect my own," Wells told him. "Are you here to finish what your protege started? Here for another ounce of blood?" Eiling asked. "I am. I did warn you what would happen if you ever hurt Naruto, and now it's time to make good on my promise," Wells said when a sudden loud growl could be heard through the tunnels. "What was that?" Eiling asked. "Now that is an old friend of ours," Wells replied. "General," Eiling heard a voice say in his head. "That voice, it's in my head," Eiling said when he heard loud footsteps and saw what was coming for him. "Dear God." "Not God. Grodd." Eiling was then snatched and taken into the sewer screaming in pain. Line break XXXXX. It had been about a week since the whole Firestorm, Eiling thing, and things were better. Ronnie and the professor were in the clear from the military, which was a good thing. They were doing fine in Pittsburgh and were gaining more knowledge on Firestorm's powers. Caitlin was in a better mood because her fiancé was alive, and not only that but he would be back home soon. All in all, it was good. There was one interesting thing that happened, and that was an external metahuman sighting in Detroit by a woman, Mari McCabe. Barry and Oliver dealt with that, and she wasn't a metahuman but had a magical totem, if you believe that. She became a hero of Detroit and called herself Vixen, so they had another person to add to the superhero club. Naruto didn't go because he told them he was busy with work and that having another speedster there seemed like overkill. In truth, he was busy looking over all of Eiling's files, especially the ones on Pre-Particle Accelerator Metahumans and the Nine. Eiling's file on the Nine wasn't that extensive, but it had more information than what he was able to dig up on his own. According to military intelligence, the Nine were a secret group of criminals that controlled other groups around the world. They showed up about maybe 40 years ago and quickly built up power to control various criminal organizations around the world. Asia, Europe, South America, they had their hands in everything. Eiling's filing suggested that they had men and resources inside the Yakuza, Triad, Cartels, Bratva, and Mafia all over the world. Granted, none of this was substantiated or proven with actual evidence because the Nine supposedly controlled everything from the shadows and no one knew anything. It honestly made them sound like the boogeymen, but could this even be possible? That was all that was in the file on the Nine, but there a note that read ASA Freeland vaccine trials. That led him to the file on Pre-Particle Accelerator Metahumans. According to Eiling's research, the ASA, or American Security Agency, was a U.S. government organization that supervised internal security measures for the country but officially was shut down after numerous claims of corruption and illegal activities. Eiling took some of their files and they had information on people with abilities, indicating that there were metahumans before the particle accelerator explosion, which he thought was impossible. According to Eiling's personal notes, he suspected that the reason the Nine were able to control over so many criminal organizations was that they had a mole in the ASA and took whatever information they had and gave themselves metahuman powers. Metahuman supervillains who controlled the deadliest criminal organizations around the world. That doesn't sound good. Something interesting in Eiling's files. Naruto jumped out of his skin at the sudden voice. He turned to see Dr. Wells by the doorway and breathed a sigh of relief. "Jesus Christ, Dr. Wells." Naruto pat his heart to try and calm him down. You're gonna give someone a heart attack one day if you keep doing that. My apologizes. Dr. Wells entered the room and saw it was littered with calculation sheets and schematic designs for new technology, but the thing that caught his attention was on the far wall. It was a murder board set up about his parents' murder by Mizuki. All relevant information, persons of interest, and suspects were littered on the board with strings tied to each to try and make some sense of it. I see you've taken to the lab as your own. Well, I need someplace to work, Naruto told him. Of course. Dr. Wells replied. You've been keeping yourself very busy the past week. Well, between working and checking on the arc reactor, even with my super speed it takes up some time, Naruto told him. And checking on Eiling's files you stole from the military base? Dr. Wells asked. Just wanted to see what else he had hidden, and it's a lot, Naruto said, exhaling in both exhaustion and frustration. But no answers to the questions you've had, Dr. Wells said as Naruto nodded. Yeah, Eiling had a file on the 9, but it was nothing but rumors, theories, and unsubstantiated ideas. It was no help, but he did have a file on metahumans who he thinks predate the particle accelerator explosion, Naruto told him, showing him the file. Really? Dr. Wells asked, curious but hiding the fact that he knew all of this. Yeah, something about the ASA and the 9 possibly being metahumans. Do you think it's possible? I mean, we found out that my dad had a file on me and I had metahuman DNA before the particle accelerator, Naruto suggested. It's a possibility. If I've learned anything the past year with you and Mr. Allen is that the anything can be possible, but we'll need to tread carefully with this new information. You might have taken care of Eiling, but more people like him will arise so long as metahumans exist, and it won't be long before they set their sights on Central City, Dr. Wells told him. Roger that, Naruto said, saving all his files to a special encrypted server for safekeeping. So, is there anything else you need? I figured you didn't come here just to talk about this. You're right. Given all the work you've done with the arc reactor and what you plan on doing in the future, I think it's time to announce Star Labs' re-emergence to the world, Dr. Wells announced. Everything you've been designing is perfect for a press conference to announce Naruto Namikaze joining Star Labs and helping to usher in a new evolution in technology for the world. I've already set up a small press conference outside of Star Labs for next Monday. Are you sure that's a good idea, Dr. Wells? I mean, considering the sort of illegal crime-stopping activities that we do here, is drawing attention to ourselves the best plan? Naruto asked. True, it would draw attention, but it's the kind of attention we need to keep people from figuring out what we're doing here. With everything that's been going on, like the news of your existence and the new metahumans you'll be facing, it won't be long before someone else like Hartley begins to wonder if Star Labs is helping the Flash and Impulse. With this, people will be focused more on the technical and scientific attributes we're making, Dr. Wells explained. Alright, I'll trust your move 100%, Naruto replied. Good, because you will be speaking at that event, Dr. Wells told him. Say what now? Naruto asked, doing a double take. No, I'm not that great with public speaking. Why do I have to talk? You should do it or get Cisco or Caitlin to help. Many of the breakthroughs we'll be announcing were created by you, so it's only right that you speak at this event. Don't worry, I have faith in you, Dr. Wells said before leaving. Great, as if public speaking was bad enough I have to do it on the most important day ever, Naruto said to himself, calling Linda for help. A few days passed until it was Monday and the big reveal of Star Labs was taking place. There was a small stage, podium, and monitor set up outside of Star Labs where the press conference would take place. Dr. Wells, Caitlin, and Cisco would be sitting on the stage while visiting scientists, investors, and journalists would be there. The fact that Harrison Wells himself called for the press conference with information regarding Star Labs attracted some attention. Naruto was dressed up in a business suit to his chagrin, but Linda and Tsunade insisted on it. It was a regular navy business suit with a white shirt and crimson tie. Naruto took a deep breath as he looked at the crowd of people here for the press conference, and there was a good amount. Joe and Barry were here and Ino was with Barry. It was nice that his friends were here. Iris, Linda, and dozens of other journalists and news reporters in the crowd, and a special section were set up for city officials like Captain Singh and the mayor. How Dr. Wells managed to get the mayor here is beyond him. Yip, Naruto felt Kurama brush up against his leg and knelt down to pet him on the head. Oh, buddy, you're lucky you don't have to worry about stuff like this. Naruto scratched him behind the ears and he happily nuzzled into his hand. Sorry I haven't spent that much time with you lately. Guess I haven't realized how busy I've been getting. Yip, Kurama happily nuzzled against Naruto's leg and licked him on the hand. I'm glad you're here, buddy. I just hope I don't puke when I get up there. I'm so nervous that I feel like my stomach's doing the tango, Naruto said. Here. Naruto looked and saw a small flask held out in front of him by Tsunade, who was dressed in her fancy gray and green dress which did its best to contain her massive bust. Next to her was Shizune, who was dressed in a nice black business suit, and Taunton, who had on a cute tiny business jacket for his size. You can't get drunk, so maybe the booze can at least calm you. Thanks. Naruto took the flask and downed the whole thing in a few seconds. No, it doesn't work. You didn't have to drink the whole thing. Tsunade took the flask and put it in her purse. Don't worry. Naruto, you're gonna do great. Shizune assured him. All the kids from the shelter are here to wish you good luck. Naruto smiled at all the kids who were attending the event and they all waved at him. Cisco and Caitlin were keeping them company for the time being until the conference started. You can do this. You know science better than anyone. Tsunade assured him. Yeah, sure, but I'm not the best with public speaking, Naruto told her. No one is. Just imagine everyone in their underwear and it'll make you less nervous, Tsunade told him. Okay. Right, that'll work, Naruto said, closing his eyes and imagining everyone naked, but it didn't work. It's not working, I'm even more nervous now. Tsunade, Shizune, and Kurama's sweat dropped in exhaustion at him. Only someone who can save the city from metahumans and build a device that will help the planet's reliance on fossil fuel would be afraid of public speaking. Iris was over by Linda and their co-worker Mason Bridge. She got her tape recorder and notepad ready when she looked over to Naruto and saw him talking to two women. Hey, Linda. Who are the two women by Naruto? She asked. Oh, that's Tsunade and Shizune. They run the shelter Naruto stays at. They're kind of like family to him. Linda explained as Iris found herself staring at Tsunade's bust size, having a hard time believing those were real and feeling a little jealous. A little jealous? I was too when I first met her. Excuse me, everyone. Dr. Wells spoke into the microphone at the podium. Sorry for the wait, but I believe we can begin our press conference now. Everyone quieted down and stood at attention for the press conference. Tsunade, Shizune, and Kurama walked over to the kids while Naruto, Cisco, and Caitlin took their seats on stage. Thank you, everyone, for coming here. We're lucky enough that the weather is cooperating with us today on this momentous occasion. The last time I spoke in front of Star Labs, it was for a different occasion that seemed like a lifetime ago. This occasion, I assure you, is for a different reason. The past year, I've wondered what to do with the plans for the future of Star Labs and my own personal future. I'm glad to announce that today, Star Labs is taking one step forward to helping people once again as we did before. For today's announcement, I would like to introduce the man who will be speaking to you about what we have to offer, newly instated co-owner of Star Labs, Naruto Namikaze. Everyone clapped as Dr. Wells pointed to Naruto, who was frozen in his chair. Did Dr. Wells really just do that? Naruto asked Caitlin. He did, now go. Caitlin pushed him out of the chair and he walked over to the podium. Dr. Wells joined Caitlin and Cisco while Naruto began to get nervous looking at the group he was speaking to. He spared one more look at Dr. Wells, who ushered him to go on. Naruto took a deep breath and cleared his throat. Thank you, Dr. Wells, for that introduction and for dropping the bomb on me to only make me more nervous. I think the reason Dr. Wells wanted me to speak is because he knows just how terrified I am at public speaking. Naruto joked as the crowd chuckled. I had some cards for this, but I think I'll just wing it. Before we start, I just want to take a moment to assure everyone that Star Labs isn't going to make the same mistakes of the past. As scientists, we're so focused on advancing the cause of science that we often neglect or ignore common sense and forget to ask, should we instead of could we? The particle accelerator was a tragedy that could have been avoided. Dr. Wells has already gone on record about the catastrophe that ravaged the city nearly 2 years ago. We failed the city and it had to deal with the consequences. People loved lost ones, damage was done, and lives were changed forever. As much as you must be tired of hearing this, no amount of condolences can be made to make up for what happened and for those that have suffered. Naruto glanced over at Dr. Wells, who smiled and nodded. Today, Star Labs is making a vow to not repeat the mistakes of the past and to once again help everyone. The people you see before you. Dr. Caitlin Snow, Francisco Ramon, Dr. Wells and myself have been working on solving new problems that the world faces now. The problems that the next few generations are going to face will be the most important and the hardest in human history. Climate change, diminishing resources, and pollution are just a few of the problems facing our planet. Serious action needs to be taken, which is what we've done. Naruto nodded to Cisco, who pressed a button on his phone to activate the massive screen to show the Star Labs logo. It then changed to reveal a chemical formula named oxohydrin bacteria. What you see before you on the monitor is the first step in combating pollution and climate change. It's no surprise that our planet is facing ecological change due to carbon emissions, pollution and such, so Star Labs' first contribution to help with that is what you see before you. Oxyhydrin bacteria, a man-made bacterium devised with the help of Dr. Caitlin Snow that is capable of dissolving away plastics, garbage and other wasteful materials that are thrown into landfills or dumped into our oceans. Cisco changed to the next slide to show a video of the bacteria at work. The bacteria was applied to a small group of floating garbage and water, and to the crowd's amazement, it ate away at the garbage like they were being dissolved by acid and released a gas. The gas the bacteria releases from the reaction then evaporates into the air and counteracts the overabundance of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to help with global warming. Zero chance of contamination or further pollution, and a viable first step reducing carbon emissions and fixing our planet's climate and environment. It's the first step, but not the only one. Cisco changed the monitor again to show a high-tech radar installation and laboratory. This is Star Labs' monitoring station, designed as the first line of defense for protecting the wellness of the public in our cities. With the hopes to install one in every major city in the country, these stations put as much emphasis on helping to fix our local environmental issues as our global ones. Each station is designed with a highly advanced monitoring system to check on air quality for pollution contaminants and analyze the problem so steps can be taken before it's too late. They can monitor city infrastructure to predict if a gas line needs repairing or analyze the local plant and wildlife to determine any issues that need to be addressed. Our local problems are just as important as the global ones. Naruto spoke as the reporters wrote down as fast as they could write and the cameras recorded everything. But Star Labs isn't just dedicated to helping the environment, because we plan to do a lot with defense projects as well. I've had the privilege of working alongside some of CCPD's finest and have seen how dangerous their job can be, so we've designed some things for them as well as other police forces. Naruto said as Cisco turned to the next slide to reveal the schematics for advanced body armor. With the help of Cisco Ramon, we've designed the next iteration of body armor protection. This is the Star Labs XO1 body armor. More advanced and powerful than anything on the market at the moment. This body armor is the ideal protection for anyone in law enforcement or the military. With the specialized interwoven and energy absorption material, this body armor is capable of blocking high-caliber rounds from assault rifles and even armor-piercing high-powered sniper rifles. Cisco then showed them the test footage they ran a few weeks ago on the first prototype, and it showed that the vest was able to stop the penetration of a high-caliber sniper round from point-blank range. Lighter than typical body armors and available in different formats to protect more of the body, this armor will soon be made available, and the first order of 200 will be provided to the CCPD without charge for their proud service to the city. Naruto announced as people clapped. He glanced over at Captain Singh, who smiled and nodded in appreciation. We will also be providing a new lighter form of body armor for undercover use as well. Cisco switched the monitor to show an ordinary business suit. The suit you see before you on the screen is not your typical suit. It is a specially created prototype for advanced concealment and urban warfare when there isn't time to use a typical body armor vest. The video played to show someone shoot the suit with 12 bullets from a 9mm pistol and revealed that the bullets didn't penetrate the suit. It was revealed that the lining of the suit was stitched with some kind of fabric that stopped the bullets from penetration, to the crowd's amazement. Made of customized silicate carbide discs, ceramic matrices, special laminate and polymers, this is the most cutting-edge body armor on the planet. Providing zero penetration for small to medium firearms, this armor can be stitched into the lining of regular clothing such as suits or police uniforms, ensuring that our officers are always protected from danger. Of course, while the armor provides protection from the bullets, the impact will still sting a bit, so I suggest wearing padded clothing underneath. The crowd chuckled a bit at that joke. Our last defense prototype is something I'm very excited about because it issues in a new era for suppression and non-lethal firearms. The life of a law enforcement officer is challenging enough, so Star Labs is proud to announce a new form of non-lethal weaponry for apprehending criminals. Naruto announced, so Cisco brought up the schematics and designs for Project ICER. The screen showed various black and blue high-tech weapons ranging from 9mm and .45 caliber pistols to high-powered sniper rifle versions. I give you Project ICER incapacitating cartridge-emitting railguns. These ICERs are the ideal equipment for non-lethal combat and excellent for apprehending criminals. Thanks to the dutiful mind of Francisco Ramon, we've designed these weapons with the sole purpose of incapacitating a subject without further harm. The key is in the ammunition used, a specialized and patented dendrotoxin that is capable of inducing instant paralysis and unconsciousness when a subject is hit. The dendrotoxin bullet casing breaks up under subcutaneous tissue and the subject is subdued for 2 hours. This ensures no further harm is caused to the officer, the assailant, and anyone else. Naruto explained as Joe and officers attending the event were intrigued with the weapons. I hope everything you've seen before you today shows that Star Labs is dedicating its time and effort into helping people. Now before we leave it to questions, there is one more thing we're proud to show you. He nodded to Cisco, who brought up the next image, which was of live camera footage of the arc reactor inside Star Labs. The sight you see before you is the next step in clean and renewable energy, the Star Labs arc reactor. It was designed by my parents, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, and together they wanted to create a power source that could help the world's reliance on fossil fuels and help the environment, and their hard work left behind a legacy that I wanted to see become a reality. With the help of my colleagues and friends at Star Labs and assistance from my good friend Barry Allen, we built the world's answer to new clean, renewable energy. The arc reactor you see before you uses a palladium plasma reaction to generate a cyclical high-density muon energy reaction within the reactor ring. This energy builds upon itself, ensuring that the arc reactor is able to generate more renewable energy than anything else on the planet. This got everyone's attention as Naruto's proclamation was grand but seemed like a typical scientist boasting. I understand that this may seem like a typical scientist trying to boast, so I will provide you with specifics. Naruto said, so Cisco changed the monitor to show actual data and energy output from the reactor. The arc reactor is our solution to fixing the world's reliance on diminishing energy sources. Fossil fuels aren't unlimited, and within the next few decades, it's conceivable that we will diminish the planet's supply of natural gas, oil, and coal. Scientists and governments have been looking into other forms of energy to try and reduce the reliance on sources that we've relied on for so many years, and we've made much advancement in that area. Solar, hydro, geothermal, wind, and biomass energy are being used to offset the reliance on fossil fuels, but much more development is needed in these areas. Nuclear energy can be used to generate a large quantity of electricity and can be safe and sustainable if under the right conditions, but carries with it a lot of risk and danger. If something were to happen to the reactor or an accident were to occur, then the consequences could be devastating. The Chernobyl disaster, 3 Mile Island accident, and the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster are examples of what happens with nuclear energy as something goes wrong. This is where the arc reactor shines, as its design ensure no fallout, disaster or harm would occur if a system or mechanical failure were to occur. Cisco brought up some more information to back up Naruto's point and his findings that the scientists could understand, but everyone else was left scratching their heads in confusion. Essentially, if something were to happen to the reactor that caused a malfunction, or if it were to blow up, the only things that would happen would be a small explosion, and we would have wasted time and money in building said reactor. Naruto joked, which drew a few chuckles. All of that aside, the arc reactor is able to generate an enormous amount of energy unlike anything seen. An average nuclear power plant is able to generate up to 1,280,000 kilowatt-hours of energy, but considering energy consumption for the factory itself, the plant can provide energy to about 200,000 homes on a monthly basis. Granted, this number is a general estimate. That, along with next to zero carbon emissions, makes it a viable alternative to the dominant energy sources we have. The arc reactor on the screen can generate that same amount of energy, at only 10% operating power. Naruto let that sink in as he heard some gasps and murmurs from the crowd. Yes, you heard correct. The reactor you see before you is currently built inside of Star Labs and has been operational for approximately. Naruto took a moment to look at his watch and take a pause for dramatic effect. 3 weeks, 2 days, 1 hour and 17 seconds. It's only been at 3% operating power, but it's been more than enough for all of Star Labs. We've been off the city's electrical grid for all that time with zero technical issue. The arc reactor is designed to output energy for use but to also cycle and create new energy as well, making it the ideal renewable energy source. If the reactor is kept at optimal levels and cared for, then at 100% operating efficiency, this reactor will be able to provide enough energy to power all of Central City and its surrounding suburbs and boroughs for years, if not decades, with zero waste emission and damage to the environment. Pending political and logistical talks with the city council and leaders, Star Labs will be ready to provide clean, renewable and cheaper energy to all of its citizens. It's a brave new legacy for Star Labs, and this is its start. Thank you. Everyone clapped and cheered as the presentation was over, and Naruto breathed a sigh of relief that he made it through the presentation without vomiting or making an idiot of himself.
Dr. Wells, Caitlin, and Cisco applauding, and Barry and Joe cheered him on. Linda, Tsunade, and Shizune couldn't have been more proud of him. This was his big moment and he nailed it. Naruto gestured for Dr. Wells, Caitlin, and Cisco to join him by the podium so they could answer questions. We have some time to take questions from the audience, Dr. Wells said as dozens of reporters raised their hands. He looked around and pointed at the closest one.
Mr. Namikaze, how soon do you plan on implementing your pollution-fighting bacteria to help the environment? One of the reporters asked. As soon as possible would be best, but given the amount of legal and logistical footprints we would need to go through to legally do that will take some time, but hopefully we can start with the pollution in Central City first. Naruto answered. Next question. Dr. Wells called out and pointed to another reporter. Dr. Wells, given everything that's happened with Star Labs, are you comfortable handing over half of your company to Naruto Namikaze? One of the reporters asked. Of course. I trust Naruto with my legacy and know that he will help push Star Labs into doing great things. Our presentation today shows that given all the projects were designed by him. Naruto has a brilliant mind, and the fact that he doesn't have an advanced degree is just semantics, Dr. Wells stated.
Dr. Wells, after everything Star Labs has already done to this city, can we really take any word that this arc reactor does what it says it does? Mason Bridge asked. Of course, you have every right to be skeptical given what has happened in the past, and it's more than understandable, and we're taking steps to show everyone that this is not the case. Dr. Wells replied. And if I might add, Mr. Bridge, I understand that you'll want to spin this in a negative light for your article and try to paint all of Star Labs as dangerous in your slander piece, but I can assure you and everyone else that my parents' lifelong work into the arc reactor was carefully thought out and worked over for years. They were two of this planet's greatest minds, and we've reviewed and improved their work to build the reactor you saw today, and what it can do is nothing short of mind-blowing. We're providing the information on the arc reactor to the public as well as the Board of Safety Commission so that everyone can have peace of mind that the reactor is safe and does what we've said it will. You'll want to review that for your article, but given that it is advanced science and you likely don't have more than high school science knowledge, you'll want some help with understanding it, Mr. Bridge. Naruto added, keeping a smile on his face while everyone chuckled at the little sting and shade sent his direction. Caitlin and Cisco hid their chuckles while Iris smiled at Mason being put a little in his place. Oh, the shade thrown. Iris said to him. Mr. Namikaze, do you have any plans to expand the building of these arc reactors to other cities and countries? Another reporter asked. That is the hope. Cheap, renewable energy is something that all of mankind deserves, and given that Star Labs and myself have the patent and right to this technology, we plan to ensure that that is the case. We'll want to expand to every country available in the future, but the first step would be to see if we can get the reactor up and running for all of Central City first. Naruto replied. And when do you plan to do that? Another reporter asked. Once talks with the mayor, city leadership, and governor are done. We've already submitted a request for the Public Utility Commission for a certificate to offer electrical services, so once that is done, we'll be in talks with the city manager about setting energy rates and distributing the energy from the arc reactor to the rest of the city.
Cisco and I have already designed and set up methods for distributing the electricity that comply with federal regulations. Naruto answered. Mr. Namikaze, do you have any comment on the energy companies that will feel threatened by your announcement today? A reporter asked. I'm not doing this to threaten the other energy companies or make a declarative statement against them. All we plan to do is provide an alternative energy source for everyone. No different than the first solar panel company or hydro dam that was built. Everything we do is to help people and the planet. Naruto replied. I think we have time for one final question. Dr. Wells announced before seeing Linda with her hand up. Ms. Park, do you have a question? Yes, Mr. Namikaze, if your parents were here now, what would you like to say to them? Linda asked as Naruto took a moment to think of what they would say if they were alive and what he would say to them. Given the new things he's learned and the questions he still had, he wasn't sure what to think. If my parents were here, I just hope that they would be proud of what I've been trying to accomplish. Naruto answered and Linda nodded, writing that down. Thank you everyone for attending today. Today is just the beginning of what I hope to be a long legacy. Everyone gave one more round of applause as Naruto and the others stepped down from the stage while other reporters shouted questions and photographers took photos. Naruto stepped down from the stage and breathed out a giant sigh of relief, feeling the stress of speaking to the crowd leave his body and he could finally relax. Dear God, I never want to do something like that again, Naruto said. Only someone like you could be nervous when speaking to a crowd yet be okay with going against someone like General Eiling, Caitlin replied. What can I say? I'm unique, he told her. Linda rushed over and jumped onto him with a flying hug. Naruto caught her and kissed the side of her head, holding her close. So, how'd I do? You did great. Were you nervous because I couldn't tell? It was like you had been doing that for years, she told him. I was beyond nervous. I'm just glad it's over. Naruto replied as Barry, Joe and Ino walked over. Nicely done there, Naruto. I can think of a lot of cops who are going to be happy if your body armor actually works. Joe told him. Joe, I'm offended. Everything I build works. Naruto replied, holding his hand over his heart in a mock joke that he was hurt. Don't worry, I'm willing to bet all of the money in the trust fund my parents left that the vests will work as I described them. Alright, I'll take your word for it. I've known you long enough to know how weirdly lucky you are when it comes to bets and gambling, Joe said. Of course. How do you think I helped Tsunade with her gambling debts? Naruto asked. Tsunade, Shizune, Kurama, and the kids walked over and when Tsunade heard what Naruto said she began pouting. 30 years of her life and all she's done is pile on debt while one day at a casino and I wipe it clean for her. Oh, shut it you brat. Tsunade huffed which made everyone chuckle. Mr. Naruto, one of the kids walked over with a small notepad. Can I get an autograph? You don't need to ask me that. I'm more than happy to. Naruto replied with a smile, happily signing his name. He signed his name a few more times with the kids from the shelter who he loved like his own. Okay, now that the press conference is over and everything is set, tonight we celebrate and to do that, everyone here is invited out to dinner. My treat. Sounds good to me. Cisco said. Dr. Wells? I suppose one night out won't kill me, Dr. Wells replied. Good, because everyone here, including you guys, Naruto tussled some of the kids' hair, will have their bellies full of great food tonight. I called ahead and reserved the entire restaurant at a Korean barbecue place and tonight we'll give them the most profitable night of their lives. Yeah. The kids shouted, excited for the meal. Dear Lord. The Flash and Impulse at an all-you-can-eat restaurant, that place will run out of food by the end of the night. Linda whispered to Caitlin. I'd give it an hour. She whispered back when she noticed someone walking over. He was an older gentleman, probably in his late 30s and was wearing a designer suit. By his side was an older man, dressed like a butler. When they got close, Caitlin recognized the younger man in the designer suit as Bruce Wayne, billionaire philanthropist from Gotham City. Oh my god, I think that's Bruce Wayne. Mr. Namikaze. Bruce said, getting Naruto's attention. Naruto turned and he recognized Bruce Wayne as well. Owner of Wayne Enterprises, one of the biggest companies in the world and the guy was a billionaire. Mr. Wayne, it's a pleasure to meet you. Naruto shook his hand and noticed the very hard grip and calloused hands. Really, it's an honor and please call me Naruto. Well, Naruto, I just want to say that I enjoyed your presentation. It's safe to say that what you're doing here at Star Labs is very different what Mr. Fox has told me. Bruce admitted. If it's at all possible, perhaps we can discuss a partnership and maybe setting up an arc reactor in Gotham City. Or at the very least get some of your pollution technology up and running for Gotham? Naruto's eyes lit up in excitement. Working with Wayne Enterprises was huge. Of course, it'd be an honor. Excellent. I'll have someone from my office contact you with the details. Congratulations. Bruce shook his hand and left with a smile. Everyone looked at Naruto, who seemed to be frozen in shock and excitement. Holy crap, I just met Bruce Wayne and he wants to work with us. I can die happy now. Naruto said as Linda helped him move over to the car. New York City, in an abandoned warehouse in the Bronx, everything seemed to be normal when all of a sudden the sound of gunfire and screaming came out of nowhere. Whatever happened seemed to indicate that whatever group was doing the firing was also losing. Screams of pain and agony could be heard as the sound of gunfire diminished until there was no sound at all. Then a body was flung from a window and landed on the ground outside. Said body was a man of Japanese heritage who was dressed in typical gangster rags and had elaborate Japanese-inspired tattoos all over his body, showing that he clearly affiliated with the Yakuza. The tattoos signified how many victims they personally killed and was a badge of honor for the organization. Unfortunately, all that boasting was nothing for whoever attacked him and the others. The Yakuza member crawled away in an attempt to get away to safety, but it was in vain. The sound of crunching glass against boots closed in and he was soon turned over and grabbed by the neck. He was then lifted up into the air with his feet dangling off the ground and got one last glimpse of his attacker. Said attacker was tall, about 6 cubic feet, and was wearing a black tactical combat uniform shirt and pants with matching combat boots. He had a dark red tactical vest over his shirt, lightweight metal mesh armor on his wrists and ankles, with metal handguard and gloves. He had a black mask on his face with a metal forehead protector with the kanji for oil imprinted on it. He had 2 pistols strapped to his waist and a large scroll slung across his back. Screw you. The Yakuza member said in Japanese. No, screw you. Now you're lucky because the rest of your little group is currently splattered all over the floor and walls of that warehouse. If you don't want to join them, then give me some useful information. The figure replied, speaking in Japanese as well, and sounded very threatening. I'm not scared of you. The Yakuza replied as his attacker reached behind him and touched the large scroll on his back. He grabbed the end of the scroll, rotated it 45 degrees clockwise, and a pop was heard, showing that the scroll was actually a container that held weapons. He reached inside and pulled out a short-style Japanese wakizashi blade. The blade was dark green and handle was silver with kanji etchings on the metal that read the Great Toad Sage. You will be. He warned him, and soon screams of pain could be heard blocks away. No later than 30 seconds after the screaming, 4 police cruisers speed into the area with sirens ablaze. They swerved into the warehouse parking lot and got out of the car with their guns ready, only to see the aftermath of an attack. Broken glass, spent bullet casings, and blood. Some officers moved over to the warehouse and peeked inside to see a lot of bodies, while one officer rushed over to see one Yakuza enforcer on the ground curled up in a ball. He was bloody and beaten and looked like he was put through hell and traumatized. The officer quickly called in paramedics and additional officers to secure the area along with an ESU squad. Unbeknownst to them, the mysterious attacker was crouched on the roof across the street before seemingly vanishing. Said attacker entered his safe house, which was set up with weapons, a powerful laptop set up, a secured server, and anything else someone on the run would need. He took his mask off to reveal his long spiky white hair, brown eyes, and red tattoo lines down his face. He was around 60 years old but didn't look it, keeping himself in excellent shape, and whatever he was doing to his body and face was clearly working. He took off his scroll container and walked over to the computer to upload some information and track down another lead. He looked at the far wall to see a blurry image that had been digitally enhanced on a faraway figure. The picture was still a little blurry, but it was clear enough to make out one individual with long black hair, pale skin, and the faint glint of a yellow eye. The man began plotting a point and arranging a safe house for Starling City when a breaking news report came up. The news report was about the reveal of the new Star Labs co-owner Naruto Namikaze and his groundbreaking advancements in science, including the arc reactor. The man looked at the report and smiled before glancing over to the bed to see an old photo of him years ago with Minato Namikaze, Kushina Uzumaki, and an 11-year-old Naruto. I suppose one quick trip to Central City might be in order, he said to himself. Line break XXXXX. Naruto woke up with a delightful yawn as he sat up in bed. He rubbed his eyes and noticed he wasn't in his room at the shelter when he remembered that after that massive buffet dinner last night, which racked up a lot of dishes, cost a lot of money but made the restaurant very happy, he went to Linda's after helping Tsunade and Shizune put the kids to bed. He looked to his left and saw her passed out on the bed, her hair sprawled out on the pillow. Made her look adorable. Naruto leaned down and kissed her on the shoulder, which made her groan and push him away. "No, Naruto. It hurts too much." Linda groaned, causing him to chuckle. "Never in my life have I envied your ability to not get drunk." Chuckles. "Guess you can have too much a good thing," Naruto told her. "If by good think you mean soju, then yes." Linda groaned in pain. "I'll get to work on breakfast and a hangover cure," Naruto said, getting out of bed and dressed. "Extra bacon, please," she mumbled. Naruto worked on breakfast and making Tsunade's hangover cure for Linda once she decided to get out of bed. Naruto munched on some toast while he finished preparing the rest of breakfast when the local news mentioned Star Labs. Naruto grabbed the remote and raised the volume so he could listen. And in local news, Star Labs' recent press conference and put the science world on its heels as its new co-owner Naruto Namikaze has revealed the latest advancements in pollution reparation and defense technology. But the biggest wave comes in light of the reveal the new Star Labs arc reactor, the next generation in clean and renewable energy that seems to be working on the planet's reliance on fossil fuels and other forms of energy. At the press conference, Naruto Namikaze has gone on record to state that the arc reactor has enough energy to power all of Central City and its surrounding suburbs for decades, and while that may seem like an outlandish statement, it would appear to be correct. Documentation on the reactor has been made public, and statements from scientists at Hudson University, Central City University and even far as MIT have concluded that the arc reactor will do as its creator said it would. It would appear that the arc reactor might very well be the solution to the world's energy problems, and it all starts here in Central City. The news reporter said, making Naruto smile in pride. "What's going on?" Linda asked, walking into the living room in her robe. "Nothing. Just the news." Naruto lowered the volume and walked over, giving her a kiss. "You might not want to do that. I have morning breath," she told him, but he chuckled and gave her another kiss. "Worth it," he said, pulling her close and nuzzling his head into her hair. She pulled back and looked at him, combing her hands through her hair. "Only someone who loves you would risk a kiss with morning breath. Especially one after a night of Korean barbecue, beer and soju. Guess you do love me." Linda smiled as she kissed him. "Always." Naruto leaned down and kissed her neck, playfully biting at her skin and hitting a tender spot which made her moan. She moved her hands down to his abs and rubbed them over, but they were soon interrupted by Naruto's phone ringing. "Damn it." "It's okay, answer it. I'll be taking a shower." Linda walked over to the bathroom, dropping her robe in the hallway and giving him a wink. Naruto bit his lip before huffing and answering his phone. "Hello?" Naruto answered. "Naruto, it's Shizune. Can you come to the shelter right now? It's an emergency," she told him. "I'm on my way." Naruto set up on plate of breakfast for Linda, gobbling up some toast and super sped back to the shelter. He walked in through the front door, ready to deal with whatever situation he could think of, only to see the kids grouped up by the wall and peeking into the kitchen. "What's going on?" "Some weird guy showed up and Tsunade punched him," one of the kids said as Naruto walked into the kitchen to see a fuming and furious Tsunade with her smoking fist, having just punched someone. Shizune sighed in exhaustion when she saw Naruto and rushed over. "Naruto, thank God you're here," she said. "Yeah, I came over right away. What's going on?" Naruto asked. "What's going on is some pervert tried to touch the girls, so I punched him," Tsunade replied. Naruto glanced over and saw the window was broken with glass was on the floor. She really punched him hard enough that he was sent flying through the window. Ouch. "Okay, but if she handled it, why call me? Do you want me to call Joe?" Naruto asked. "No, we called you because before Tsunade punched him, he said he knew you," Shizune explained. Naruto walked out the kitchen and out of the shelter with Shizune following him. He walked over and saw the broken window, so he followed the flight path of whoever was punched and saw a pair of legs protruding from a bush. "That's him." Naruto grabbed one of the legs and pulled, yanking the man out of the bush and dropping him onto the floor. He got a good look at the mystery man and saw he was wearing brown shoes, green pants and shirt with a red vest, along with a large scroll on his back. Naruto recognized the outfit and the spiky white hair, and his hand tightened into a fist. Said man lifted his head and spit out some leaves before shaking his head. Whoa, that is one heck of a woman. I do love a girl who can fight. He said to himself only to hear someone clearing their throat. He turned around and saw the cute friend to the busty blonde and the person he was looking for. Hey, kid. Long time no see. Naruto then sucker punched him in the face and knocked him out. You never change at all, you old pervert. Even after 3 years. Naruto said in anger. Who is he? Shizune asked. She only saw Naruto this angry when he found out the truth about his parents' murder. He's my godfather, Jiraiya. Naruto told her. He grabbed Jiraiya by the foot and dragged him over by the side of the building. He grabbed the water hose and sprayed him in the face, waking him up. Get up and go, you old pervert. Is that any way to treat your own godfather, kid? Jiraiya asked, wiping the water off his face only for Naruto to splash him once more. That wasn't very nice. That's how I treat an old pervert who clearly hasn't done any maturing and has been gone without so much as a single word for the past 3 years. Naruto told him, splashing him one last time because it was funny. Why the hell are you here and how did you find me? It wasn't that hard to find where you lives, kid. I am amazing after all. Jiraiya took a pause before standing up in a dramatic pose. For I am the great and mighty Jiraiya. Devilishly handsome sage and seeker of justice whom the ladies love. Shizune's sweat dropped while Naruto's left eye just twitched in anger. You were an idiot when I was kid and you're still an idiot now. Naruto bluntly told him and Jiraiya fell to the ground. Oh, relax kid. Besides, your good, spry, and devilishly handsome godfather came for a visit, and is that how you treat him? Jiraiya asked only for Naruto to punch him in the face and knock him out again. We can go inside now. Naruto told her as he walked back to the front door. What about him? Shizune pointed to the unconscious Jiraiya. Leave him. Trust me, he's had worse. Naruto told her. She reluctantly agreed and followed him back inside. Shizune ushered the kids back to their rooms while Naruto used his super speed and fixed the broken window along with cleaning up the glass. Tsunade got back to cooking lunch for the kids but saw Naruto sitting down at the kitchen table. He was still angry after that little scuffle. Are you alright? She asked. Yeah, I'm fine. Just never thought I'd see him ever again, he replied. You never mentioned a godfather before, Tsunade pointed out. Because I haven't ever heard word of him in 3 years. Quite frankly, I thought he was dead. He never even showed up for the funeral. Naruto told her. Tsunade saw how much seeing Jiraiya seemed to open up old wounds, so she walked over and held his hand. I'm okay. I just needed to get that out of my system. Whatever reason he has for showing up, 3 years too late. Ah, don't be like that, kid. He heard and saw Jiraiya standing there in the doorway to the kitchen. You know you missed me. Like a dog misses a trip to the vet. Naruto said, seeing him standing there like nothing was wrong. How did you even get back in? Door was unlocked. Jiraiya pointed. Well, use it and leave before I have Tsunade get another shot at you. As hard as I punch, she punches harder. Or have you forgotten? He asked only for Tsunade to crack her knuckles in a threatening manner which made Jiraiya gulp. I'm not here to fight kid or cause any more trouble, Jiraiya told him. Then what are you doing here? Naruto asked. I came to see you. Isn't that part of a godfather's job? He asked. Naruto stood up and walked over to him. When have you ever actually been a godfather? Sorry Jiraiya, but 3 years too late. Naruto flat out told him and saw Jiraiya did his best to hold back a look of failure. I have to get to work. I'll be back to help with dinner, Tsunade. Naruto grabbed Kurama and left the shelter to head to Star Labs. Jiraiya took a deep breath and pinched the bridge of his nose. This is going to be a lot harder than I thought, but I figured this would be how he would react. Jiraiya said to himself. What did you expect? You're his godfather and you've been gone for 3 years. When we first met him he said he didn't have any family. Tsunade told him. Believe me, nothing kills me more than not being there for the kid when he needed me. Jiraiya admitted to her. But it's more complicated than you think. There's a lot the kid doesn't know about what I do and I can't explain it to him. Naruto's smarter than you realize. I'm sure he'd understand why you've been gone for so long if you explain it to him, she said. It's not that he's not smart enough, it's for his own safety. Jiraiya told her, which just confused her. Naruto can handle a lot more than you think, she told him. This is something that not even Impulse can handle. Jiraiya warned her and saw she was shocked he knew that name. Once Naruto was clear of the shelter, he super sped over to Big Belly Burger to get something to eat and calm him down, which worked. He arrived at Star Labs with a leftover milkshake and Kurama by his side. They walked inside and took the elevator up to the Cortex. Naruto casually sipped his milkshake and made his way into the Cortex to see Dr. Wells, Caitlin, and Cisco. Morning, everyone. Naruto greeted them with a wave and took a sip of his milkshake. Kurama walked over by Caitlin and jumped onto a nearby chair. Caitlin scratched him on the head as Kurama curled up for a nap. Oh, too loud. Cisco said, sipping some coffee. Too much soju last night? Naruto asked. That and too much beer. I think Cisco overdid it last night, Dr. Wells explained. Hey, when someone is offering to pay for everything and that someone is rich, you take advantage. Cisco told them, taking some Advil for his headache. Well, you're not the only one. Linda was hungover too. Naruto explained. So, besides the morning hangovers, I got a glimpse of the morning news and the word about Star Labs is going great. You're right. Pretty much everything on the news this morning is about Star Labs. Believe it or not, I actually got a call from my mom about the news, Caitlin said. Wow, that is good. Cisco said. I got a voicemail from my mom about the press conference. Granted, I was really hungover when I woke up, so I didn't really hear anything. And our stock prices have gone up. You've done it, Naruto. You've helped put Star Labs on the right path forward. I couldn't be more proud. Dr. Wells said to him. Our shipment of armor vests and icers were already sent to the CCPD and our bacteria is ready for use in Central City. Excellent. What about the mayor and the whole arc reactor powering the city thing? Naruto asked. They've set up a meeting for next week, Dr. Wells said. Great, nothing could go wrong today. Naruto said when the computer got a request for a video chat from Felicity. Hey, it's Felicity. Wonder what Team Arrow needs. Cisco said, leaning back in his chair and getting some rest. Naruto answered the video chat request and saw her in the bunker, but it had some security improvements. Hey, Felicity. Hey, Naruto. Awesome press conference by the way. When do you plan on building one of those arc reactors in Starling? She asked. Let me get the one we have here up and running for all of Central City and see how that goes. After that, I'll see what I can do about setting up a monitoring station and then another arc reactor. Is everything okay? I couldn't help but notice the extra security in the bunker. Naruto told her. Believe me, I wish things were okay, but they're not. We've got Malcolm Merlin as a best friend because we have the League of Assassins breathing down our necks, so we're far from okay, Felicity explained. I guess that's not a regular day for Team Arrow. Well, if you guys need anything, we're just a call away, Naruto said, and she nodded. So, what's up? Do you need something? No, I called to give you an update on the encrypted data packet you sent me from the Star Labs server. Well, after nearly a month of working on it, I can tell you for certain that I can't open it for you, Felicity admitted. Really? I thought there wasn't anything you couldn't hack through, Naruto said. Oh god, how I wish that was true. Let me explain. The reason I can't break the encryption is because there's the code I need to break it isn't completely there. She told him, but saw he was confused. Sorry, allow me to elaborate. I managed to isolate and analyze the encryption on the data packet and found it to be an elaborate hexagonal Dionics encryption, which is extremely complicated. I've managed to break a few over the years, but this one in particular is unique because in order to unlock the packet, the encryption needs to be fed a specially formatted companion key. That key is another hexagonal Dionics encryption that then unlocks the other. Without that companion key, nothing I can do will unlock it. Can't you just make another one? He asked. No, the companion key is specific to this encryption. If I try to use a fake one, the encryption would detect it and erase the contents of the packet you sent me. I'm sorry, but even I can't crack this, Felicity said. Whoever made this figured out a way to circumvent the best hacking in the world. I can do a lot, but not without the last piece of the puzzle. Thanks for trying, Felicity. Let me know if you or Oliver need anything, he told her, and she nodded before ending the call. Well, that was a bust. Wow, so this is where you work? Naruto heard. He turned and saw Jiraiya standing there in the doorway. You should really think about updating your security system. Naruto super sped forward and slammed Jiraiya into the wall. "What are you doing here?" Naruto shouted. "I thought I made it clear that I have nothing else to say to you." "Well, maybe I have something to say to you, kid," Jiraiya said. "So that's what you can do, kid. Guess Impulse wasn't so much picked for you as much as describe you." "Naruto, let him go." Dr. Wells told him, so Naruto reluctantly let him go. Jiraiya fixed his collar and walked into the cortex, impressed with their setup. Whistles. "Wow. Not a bad setup for protecting the city. Guess it pays to work out a science building," Jiraiya said when he saw Caitlin and got a pervert glint in his eyes. "And beautiful women as well. It's a pleasure to meet you, gorgeous. The name's Jiraiya." Dr. Caitlin Snow. She shook his hand, but he was getting a little too touchy, so Naruto super sped forward and punched him in the head, knocking him into a wall. "You're too old for her and she has a fiancé, so stop being a pervert or else I throw you out," Naruto warned him. "Okay. I'm a little confused, so can someone please tell me what's going on and who this guy is?" Cisco asked, pointing to the man Naruto just punched. "The man Naruto just punched is Jiraiya Asuka and he's Naruto's godfather," Dr. Wells told them. "Godfather? You have a godfather?" Cisco asked and Naruto nodded. "How come you have mentioned him before?" Caitlin asked when Jiraiya got out of the wall and turned to them, seemingly fine. "Because I've been gone for 3 years," Jiraiya said. "And the kid has some issues to work out." "Oh, please. Don't get all condescending on me. I have a very good reason to be upset with you," Naruto told him. "And here I thought that with age come wisdom, but you're still that bratty little kid you were when you were 12, Jiraiya said, and Naruto got offended. "You think I haven't changed? How the hell would you know what I've been through? You were never around. You would show up maybe 3 times a year and then head off to wherever you had to go. And when you did show up you'd act like a giant child. I mean, you were the reason I missed 2 days of school because you took me to that amusement park while my parents were out of town. Then we spent the day at a police precinct because you got too handsy with one of the workers there. In all the years I've known you, you were never able to take anything seriously." Naruto shot back at him as Cisco, Caitlin and Dr. Wells took some steps back to avoid getting involved. This was clearly a family matter. "Oh my god, would you just get over it? Sure, I'm not the best adult role model, but you've had the most fun when I'm around, and despite everything that may have happened or whatever misadventures we had, I never let anything bad happen to you," Jiraiya told him. "I know I'm not perfect, but no one is. Not even your parents. Don't you mention them. You have no right to even say their names," Naruto warned him, and that seemed to trigger him. "Or what, kid? They meant just as much to me as they did to you. I loved your father like a son and your mother was the greatest woman I've ever met," Jiraiya shot back at him. "And you did a great job showing that love. You never even showed up for the funeral. Not so much as a word from you," Naruto scolded him. "Did you think that maybe it would have been a good idea to show up at their funeral and I don't know, maybe help me through the whole grieving process? You think you were the only one who was screwed up after they died? Your parents meant the world to me. I had to deal with their death on my own, and quite frankly, me being there for you would have only made it worse. You have no idea the people I've lost over my lifetime, but your parents were the only good things out of all the crap I've been through, and once they were gone I couldn't come back. You have no idea what that feels like," Jiraiya told him. "I know exactly what that feels like. I had to watch them die." Naruto shouted at him, releasing all the pent-up anger and aggression he's had at Jiraiya. "They may have meant the world to you, but they meant just as much to me, yet I'm still here. I'm still here every day trying to make sure their legacy is intact and finding the people responsible for their death. And where were you? Sneaking into spas to spy on women or getting thrown out of another strip club? I actually managed to find the person who killed them." Naruto. Dr. Wells called out his name to get him to stop talking, but it was too late. Once Naruto said that last sentence, he got Jiraiya's attention. "Who killed them?" Jiraiya asked. "What do you care, I mean you." Naruto was cut off as Jiraiya grabbed him by the shoulders and pulled him close. It was like a switch had been flipped and he got as serious as a heart attack. "Naruto, who killed your parents? Who is responsible for the crash?" he asked. "Mizuki, some enforcer of the Yakuza," Naruto told him, pushing his hands off his shoulders. "And he works for Orochimaru," Jiraiya said, getting Naruto's attention that he knew that name. "My god, I was right." "How the hell do you know that name?" Naruto asked. "There's a lot you don't know about me, kid. Jiraiya told him. And I think I wanted to keep it that way for your own safety. It's what your parents would want. He moved to leave when Naruto put his hand against the chest, stopping him from leaving until he got his answers. You're not going anywhere until you tell me what you know, Naruto told him. Trust me, kid, you're safer off not knowing that I know, Jiraiya warned him. Bullshit. You know who I am and what I've been doing in this city. Again, I don't know how, but I can handle anything. I've dealt with people with powers and I just took down a corrupt army general. If you know anything about my parents' death, then I want to know what you know, Naruto told him. Failing that, I can lock you in a cell that you won't escape from until you tell me. You're willing to throw me into a cell to find out what I know? Jiraiya asked. 100%, Naruto replied. Jiraiya looked at him and got his first good look at the man standing before him and saw someone willing to do whatever he could to figure out the truth. Okay, fine. Jiraiya relented, stepping back as Naruto let go. The first thing you need to know is what I do for a living. What did your parents tell you about what I did for a living? I don't know. My mom said you were a writer while my dad told me you were some kind of sage or traveling hermit, Naruto replied. Well, all of that was just a cover. I used to be a Cabinet Intelligence and Research Office agent for Japan, Jiraiya told him, and Naruto went wide eyes when he heard that. What's the Cabinet Intelligence and Research Office? Caitlin asked. It's Japan's equivalent to the CIA. It's their national intelligence agency. They work with other allied agencies like MI6, Mossad, and the CIA. Naruto explained. Super Brain and History Channel for the win. Funny you mention the CIA because I've been working for them for the past 20 years. I used to be an agent under the direct command of the Prime Minister, but when I moved to the States, I joined the Central Intelligence Agency and have been for the last 20 years. Jiraiya explained. I'm a damn good spy and it's why I've been gone for long periods of time. Okay, that explains some things. Continue, Naruto told him. A few years ago, your father and mother began working on a secret project. What it really was I'm not sure, but a wealthy and secretive group came to him about some kind of genetic research and your dad discovered something big. Jiraiya explained. When he realized what it was and who he really was working for, it was too late. He was caught in a corner and that's when he contacted me. Why? Dr. Wells asked. Because of who was secretly funding the project. He thought it was for a government agency, the ASA, but instead it was a group of criminals. Jiraiya told him. The 9. Naruto said, and Jiraiya was shocked he knew that. We dealt with someone who insisted that my parents' death wasn't an accident. When we did some digging, it led us to Mizuki, who said he did it on order from Orochimaru and some group he worked for called the 9. Wow. Guess I was wrong, kid. You did know more than I thought, but you're wrong on one point. Orochimaru doesn't work for the 9. He's one of them. Jiraiya corrected them. Who are they? Cisco asked, and Jiraiya shrugged. I don't know. Pretty much every single agency in the world denies their existence, but if you're willing to believe the rumors and legends spread by criminals, they're supposed to be a secret group that control criminal activity all over the world. The Bratva, Yakuza, Triad, even the Quadrant and the Ninth Circle, they control it all. Jiraiya theorized. How could they possibly do all that? Naruto asked. Well, your father believed it had to do with why they hired him in the first place. The genetic research the ASA was doing before they went defunct was about genetic enhancement. Jiraiya told him. Genetic enhancement as in giving people metahuman powers? Naruto asked, and Jiraiya nodded with a smirk. How do you think I was able to get back up so easily after you punched me? Jiraiya asked. He walked over to the wall and yanked off a metal pipe like it was nothing before snapping it in half. You know, you could have done to something else and not break part of the wall. Cisco pointed out, feeling the pain of having to fix that later. When your father told me the truth, he gave me a syringe with the same metahuman formula he was working on for the 9. It made me a super soldier and lets me do my job a lot easier. Plus, it made me even more handsome than I was before. I may look 60, but I have the body of an Olympic athlete, Jiraiya said with a smirk. And the perverseness of an entire frat house, Naruto added. Okay, he gave you powers, but what else? He said that if something were to happen to him, then I needed to track down the people responsible and bring them to justice. He gave me something and said the powers he gave me would help, but it's been harder than I thought. I've managed to take down dozens of Yakuza cells all over the world and managed to get a lead on where Orochimaru could be, Jiraiya told him. What did he give you? Naruto asked. Jiraiya reached into his scroll container and opened it. He reached it and pulled out an ornate Japanese smoking pipe. My dad gave you a pipe? Yeah, I don't know why. The stupid thing doesn't even work, Jiraiya told him. Naruto looked at the pipe and was confused as to why his dad would give Jiraiya this if it was important and had to do with the 9. Maybe it was a sentimental gift your father wanted him to have. Dr. Wells suggested. Yeah, but a smoking pipe. What kind of message was he trying to send? Caitlin asked. My dad doesn't smoke. He never did. Naruto told them. He looked over the pipe before making a decision. He walked over to the table and smashed it. What the hell was that, kid? Jiraiya asked as Naruto moved some of the broken pieces of glass and clay and held up a small USB drive. You didn't think the pipe has something in it? Some spy. Naruto told him as the others looked at him. In my defense, I thought it was a sentimental gift. Jiraiya defended himself. Naruto sat down at the computers and plugged in the USB drive. He opened the drive and saw it was some kind of code. So it's a thumb drive with a computer code on it? Not just any computer code. This is some serious hacking code, Cisco told him. It's a hexagonal Dionix encryption code, Naruto said. As in the same code that your father's data packet we found in the Star Labs server, Dr. Wells said. Something tells me my dad wanted you to come here with this. Naruto told Jiraiya. He brought up the encrypted data packet that his dad hid in the Star Labs server that Felicity couldn't hack. He opened it to see the encryption code, which immediately began to react to the code in the thumb drive. The two codes came together like they were pieces of a puzzle and completed one another, allowing access to the data packet. He opened it to see it was all his dad's research he did for the 9 on the metahuman serum. It turns out that the serum was derived from old research the ASA did in Freeland vaccine trials that apparently had the side effect of giving certain people metahuman powers. One of the people who was given powers was the Freeland vigilante known as Black Lightning, who has gone dormant for years. Naruto found the data on various serums that his father was working on and found one known as MHS-9, Metahuman Serum Number 9, and saw it was designed to give a subject superhuman intelligence, and he was the person, he was the subject. He was right, his rising intelligence was because his father injected him with a metahuman serum, and that was the reason for his super intelligence. Jesus, what the hell was my father doing for these guys? Naruto asked. Something tells me this could explain everything. Jiraiya pointed to a video clip created 1 week before the accident. Naruto opened the video and it started off with his dad in his old lab downstairs. Minato adjusted the camera a bit before looking right at the lens. Naruto, my son, if you're watching this, then Jiraiya must have reached out to you and you found the old pipe. I'm just glad I hid it in there and knew he wouldn't get rid of it, and I'm glad that you're watching this because it means that all the horrible things I've done, they won't have been nothing. If you're watching this, then your mother and I are dead, Minato said, before breathing a huge sigh of exhaustion and fear. God, I hope that it isn't the truth and I'm making this for no reason, but I know better than that. Naruto saw how hard this was for his dad and could only imagine what he must have been going through when he recorded this. If you're watching this, then I can only imagine what you must be thinking about me. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life and this is biggest one. You must be wondering where your intelligence came from, and why this is happening to you. I'll try to tell you everything I know. Years ago, I approached by people who needed my help on a special genetic research project. They said they worked for the ASA, the American Security Agency, and that the project was of the utmost importance for national security. They told me that there were people who were suffering from a rare genetic disease that caused cellular degeneration and they needed someone to help make serums to combat the problem. It had only affected a small group, but they said it could spread and be a global pandemic, so, being us, your mother and I wanted to help however we could. That was the day everything changed. I did my work using the samples they gave me and I managed to fix the problem, but my work had unintended consequences as a result. I managed to fix the genetic degradation, but the process also granted new, enhanced abilities to the subject. When I told them this, they said that this was what they wanted in the first place and that I needed to make more. I then released what I was working on and tried to leave the project, but by then it was too late. I did some more digging and realized I wasn't working for the ASA but a far deadlier group called the 9. They were criminals, and if I had known who they were I never would have gone along with the project. With my serum, the leaders of the 9 were now going to live longer and were given enhanced powers to keep their control. If I went to the police, no one would believe me and they would have killed you, so I had to do something. Minato explained, bringing up information on 9 more metahuman serums. One of their leaders, Orochimaru, was my designated handler and had his goons keep a close eye on me and my work. He ordered 9 more serums, so I decided to make my own move. I bided my time and created 10 instead. Orochimaru collected the first 8 to do God knows what with them, but I managed to buy some extra time with the last one, saying it would be the best and needed extra work. With that moment, I created Serum 9 and 10. Serum 9 was designed to grant the user superhuman intelligence gradually over time and eventually be on a scale that couldn't be measured, whereas Serum 10 would grant the user with superhuman physiology and accelerated healing, a super soldier if you will. I knew that if the 9 were to be taken down, then it needed to be enhanced people I know who could do it. I gave Serum 10 to Jiraiya and told him what I knew, and I injected you with Serum 9. Minato confirmed, so Naruto now knew his father gave him metahuman powers before the particle accelerator. God, what kind of monster I must be to submit my son to this. Oh, Dad. Naruto said. There's nothing I can do to stop the 9. So I gave Jiraiya the mission to try and avenge our death should something happen and find out what he could. Whatever you may think of him, Jiraiya can do this, Naruto. Minato said as Naruto looked at Jiraiya and nodded. Naruto, I can't even begin to believe what kind of monster you must think of me, and I don't blame you. Subjecting my own son to this experiment when you deserve a normal life like your mother and I. If that's what you want, then I beg of you that you find it. Leave all this behind if that's your choice. But if you choose to follow this and see where this goes, I can only hope that the serum I gave you is enough to even the playing field and give you what you need to stop the 9 and maybe save the world from what they have planned. No matter the mistakes your mother and I made, I know that you will rise above them all and correct them. Because what is and always will be my greatest creation is you. I love you, son, never forget that. Minato cried some tears and smiled before ending the video. Not a single sound could be heard after the video ending until some sniffling came and teardrops fell onto the desk. Naruto was crying from the revelation and hearing his dad's final message. He quickly stood up and walked over to the far wall to get some space. Caitlin wanted to run over to comfort him, but Jiraiya stopped her. No, let him be. He told her. Naruto took one deep breath and wiped his eyes before turning to Jiraiya, his eyes a little bloodshot from the crying. What did you learn about Orochimaru? Naruto asked. That he's making one final pit stop trip in the US to arrange some last-minute details before he's gone for good. Starling City. Jiraiya told him. He plans to leave in 5 days. Well, lucky for you, I know some people who can help us with that. Naruto told him. Naruto, your father wanted you to have a normal life and walk away from this, Dr. Wells said to him. But he also said it was my choice. My shot at a normal life died a long time ago, and I'm not going to let my father's death be in vain. He gave me my super intelligence, but he didn't know I would also have other powers. Naruto vibrated his hands and generated a few blips of lightning. This more than evens the odds. We're gonna find Orochimaru, and he gonna pay for what he's done. Naruto said in anger as his eyes began flickering with electricity and momentarily glowed red. Edge of Starling City. At the edge of Starling City, at a massive and expensive mansion, numerous men in black and red suits were guarding the perimeter. A van pulled up the road and parked by the front door. One of the men got out and opened the passenger side door only to yank out 4 men who were bound, gagged, and blindfolded. The prisoners were moved inside and taken down to the basement, which was an elaborate torture dungeon with a computer monitor system in the far corner. The prisoners were brought to the center of the room and their blindfolds were removed to see they were screwed. There were dozens of men armed with guns or other weapons, so there was no way out, and if they tried, they'd be shot dead. The guards then stepped aside and bowed their heads as 2 men walked into the room and stood before the prisoners. He was wearing an elaborate and fancy purple suit which seemed to draw attention, his very pale skin, long black hair, and reptile-like eyes. This was Orochimaru, the white snake and one of the leaders of the 9. Just being around him made your skin crawl, and one look at his face you could tell that he derived pleasure from another person's pain. Now, I'm quite disappointed, Orochimaru said. Last time I checked, our arrangement was that you and your organizations were allowed to operate in this city so long as they kept up tribute to the Yakuza, yet it seems all of you have seemed to forget that. One of the prisoners yelled into his gag, but all you could hear was muffles. The muffling got on Orochimaru's nerves, so he decided to have some fun. The sound of bone cracking and cartilage bending could be heard as Orochimaru seemed to morph his body into the stuff of nightmares. A long forked tongue wrapped itself around the neck of the prisoner and he was yanked away from the others who all began to panic as they heard the screams of terror and pain of their friend. His pain soon ended, and the sound of the cracking stopped, leaving Orochimaru completely fine and normal and the prisoner nowhere to be found. He should have changed his cologne. Rather musty. Orochimaru said, picking his teeth with a finger. Anyway, I think it's safe to say that your replacements will remember the agreement that was arranged, so we have no need for you. 3 of his men came forward with blades, ready to slice the prisoners' throats only for Orochimaru to stop them. Wait. Perhaps letting my new protege get used to his new abilities is a better idea. Orochimaru motioned to the person standing behind him. Gaara, if you wouldn't mind. A red-haired man about Naruto's age walked into the light. He was wearing black boots, gray pants, and a long-sleeved crimson coat with a small sand-colored gourd on his back. Gaara was a good person, so it was odd to see him work for a madman like Orochimaru, but there was more to the story and it seemed he might not be in control of his actions. And that would because of the special collar device around his neck and the fact that his eyes were grayed over instead of his regular green. Of course, Lord Orochimaru. Gaara replied in a monotone, almost robotic voice. He held his hands out and the cork on his gourd popped open and sand began to spill out and move in the air like it had a mind of its own. It then moved towards the men. All that was heard was screams of pain and the squelch of blood and flesh being destroyed. Oh, how fun this is! Orochimaru said with a gleefully evil grin on his face. Barry and Joe proceeded to Naruto and Dr. Wells' star facilities to inform them of their discovery. Elder Barry apparently traveled back in time 15 years to fight the Reverse Flash and save his mother. Barry, Naruto, Cisco, Dr. Wells, and Joe were debating the new evidence and assessing how and whether it was plausible. Dr. Wells was taken aback when he heard the words time travel. I'm sorry, but time travel seems insane even to my advanced brain. Naruto thought time travel was ridiculous even after everything they'd seen and done. I understand that what Barry, Linda, and I can do is insane, but breaking the sound barrier in our sneakers and shooting pure light from your hands is nothing compared to time travel. According to Arthur C. Clarke's second law, Dr. Wells explained, the only way to discover the limits of the possible is to venture a little way beyond them into the impossible. Don't try to win me over with Arthur C. Clarke. You've seen how well that works, Naruto joked. If the last 5 months have demonstrated anything, it's that anything is possible, but time travel? Brian inquired. Well, the greatest minds in human history applied their collective genius to solving that puzzle, said Dr. Wells. Is that even possible? Joe wondered. Yes, it's possible, Dr. Wells said, wide-eyed because he hadn't expected such a response. However, this is problematic. Assuming you could construct the conditions for such a travel, it would be fraught with danger. For instance, consider the Novikov principle of self-consistency. Wait. What's going on now? Joe wondered. If you go back in time to change something, you end up being the cause of that event, Barry explained, but Joe remained bewildered. It's a theory that suggests that time travel cannot change the past and that doing anything to prevent something from happening only ensures that it will happen, but it will be your fault, Naruto explained. Like Terminator, Cisco clarified, and Joe realized what they meant. Or can time be bent? Is it malleable in the sense that any changes to the continuum could result in a different timeline? Dr. Wells said. Cisco declared, Back to the Future. Joe said, oh, I saw that one as well. Dr. Wells continued, Dr. Brown, fantastic image. So, what's the answer? Joe wondered. I'm a clever guy, Joe, Dr. Wells replied, but if you want me to give you a working theory on how to travel through time, I'm afraid I can't. Joe turned to face Naruto. Don't even bother looking at me. I may be a developing mind, but this is way out of my league, Naruto said. There's someone else you can talk to about this, Cisco suggested, referring Barry and Naruto to a friend for help. At Central City Picture News, Iris was looking at Star Lab blueprints on her colleague Mason Bridge's desk when Bridge came and held out a Danish. He wondered. How did you get a copy of the Star Lab's particle accelerator? Do you even know what physics is? Iris wondered. Not even a single thing. As he sat in his chair, he told her, it could just as easily be written in Dothraki. What is the latest on the Star Lab saga? Iris commented, The only new information is that Harrison Wells admits to being warned of a potential tragedy. Mason asked, "Yeah, and why do you think he did that?" Iris said, "Because he's a good person, is he?" He queried again. "Yes, he saved the life of one of my friends. He was struck by lightning that night, and Dr. Wells and his colleagues kept him alive," Iris explained. "So, if Wells hadn't zapped him in the first place, your friend wouldn't have needed saving in the first place," he said emphatically. Iris stated, "It was an accident." Mason offered the question, "What if it wasn't?" "Do you believe Harrison Wells intended for the particle accelerator to explode?" she questioned. "I have no idea what goes on inside that building," Mason said, holding up the Danish. "But I believe you know someone who does." "Do you think I'd check up on my friends just because you gave me a Danish?" she queried, convinced that he was insane. Mason told her, "I think you'll do it because you really want to know what goes on inside that building." Linda overheard the entire exchange and thought Mason was going to keep investigating into it, which may lead to the exposing of Naruto and Barry, so she texted him about what she had overheard between the two. Professor Stein received the SMS as Naruto and Barry arrived at his apartment. "Oh, boy. That throws a wrench in our plans," Naruto explained. "What's the matter?" Brian inquired. "Do you know Linda's co-worker Mason Bridge?" he inquired, and Barry nodded. She added that Mason has been looking into the Star Labs and believes there is more going on than they were told. "This puts both us and the Meta prison in jeopardy. If the truth is revealed by the press, we will have to say goodbye to our secret identities and say hello to prison cells or science labs for the rest of our lives." "What are we going to do now?" Brian inquired. "I'll try to think of something." Naruto replied by ringing the doorbell, to which Clarissa replied, "I apologize for bothering you, Mrs. Stein, but is the professor at home?" "I'm not letting him out of my sight after a year apart," she said, making everyone laugh. "Star Labs performed quite a few tests on Martin, didn't they, and they said he was fine?" "Yeah. Is there something wrong?" asked Barry. "He just seems a little different, that's all," she explained. "He's been requesting pizza, which Martin despises." As Professor Stein neared the door, they questioned, "Is that the delivery man?" "Oh, Mr. Allen, Naruto," he says, "I don't think it's too much to wish for one of you to work as a pizza delivery boy. I'm starving." Rock, paper, scissors. Naruto offered it, and the two quickly played a game that Naruto won, so Barry ran away to fetch a pizza. As Naruto and Barry entered, he replied, "Oh, congratulations. Please enter." Before Naruto could say anything about the toppings, Professor Stein opened the box and began eating pineapple and ham pizza. "So, how can I be of assistance?" "We need to talk about a paper you wrote for Oxford University Press 25 years ago," Barry said. "Can you be more specific about the subject?" he asked. "I've written numerous pieces for that journal." "Time travel," Naruto said, pausing in the middle of his lunch to show them his office and the numbers and statistics that lined the wall. "These are just some of my random thoughts on the subject," Stein explained. "In my opinion, space-time is a free-flowing highway that meets with the physical world, and we exist in the spaces between the on and off ramps. In theory, all that is required to travel through time is to find a way onto the highway." "So you're saying that time travel is actually possible?" Barry queried. "Unquestionably," Stein said forcefully. "What about the past?" one asks. Barry was curious. "Yes. My personal preference would be the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago, where I believe Nikola Tesla and I would have some fascinating debates. How about you?" Stein said. "I believe I already have," Stein replied, seeming bewildered. "Professor, my mother was murdered 15 years ago, and we recently discovered some proof that I was there that night as an adult, not a child." Stein took his time digesting this new information before becoming ecstatic. "That must be an unintended consequence of your incredible speed. You move so fast in the future that the kinetic energy accumulation shatters a hole in the space-time continuum." Stein cried with delight, but noted Barry's dissatisfaction with the prospect. "You look disappointed with the prospect." "I mean, if I somehow make it back to that night, it means I didn't save her," Barry explained. "Perhaps not," Barry remarked as he gazed at Naruto. "Look, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the concept of time travel and how it's more than just science fiction, but that doesn't mean you can't change what happened. I mean, knowing the future can change it, according to the rules of all the science fiction I've read and watched as a kid, so why can't we change what happened?" Naruto proposes an excellent puzzle. Just because something happened in the past in a certain way does not mean it is a closed loop and cannot be changed. Events may not unfold in the same way that drove you to travel to the past in the first place, changing your future and possibly changing the past, Stein explained. So, could I go back there and save my mother? Barry asked. I spent the last year being merged with a young man by my own experiment and was saved by a former student who can break the sound barrier in his sneakers. Anything is possible, Mr. Allen. Stein reassured him. All that is left for you to do is figure out how to change the course of events. The first step would be to figure out how we can actually travel to the past. I mean, I'm thinking Barry, and I would have to move at the speed of light to even consider something like this, unless there's something else at work other than our speed, Naruto stated. And there you postulate an excellent problem, Naruto, one that will require endless calculations and the greatest scientific minds to solve. Stein reacted in full scientist mode, and they began pondering time travel options. After an hour of working on the problem, the professor went to get a drink and dropped the glass on the floor. Professor. Naruto, Barry, and Clarissa rushed over after noticing Stein trembling in terror. What's wrong? I'm not sure, I'm afraid, Stein said, his heart beating. I think Ronald is in some trouble. How could you possibly have known? Brian inquired. Jitters. He is in need of aid. Go. When Stein informed them of this, they dashed out of the house to see whether he was correct, only to find Ronnie surrounded by General Eiling and a team of troops. When Eiling pulled out a small luminous box and flung it into the air, Flash and Impulse immediately disarmed and knocked the troops unconscious. It splintered, releasing a slew of sharp needles into the air before turning right at them. Impulse spotted some trash can lids and used them as shields, shielding himself and the Flash so the needles hit the metal surface rather than them. Are you two okay? Dr. Wells wondered. No, we're quite fine. Naruto was holding them up, so Barry replied, wonderful use of the trash can lid. I worked with what I had, Naruto explained as he withdrew and studied the needles. Suffice it to say, the Firestorm saga is far from over. According to Jason Rush, the doctoral student who was aiding Professor Stein with his Firestorm, the army stole all of Professor Stein's material when he disappeared. Caitlin explained, I should have recognized General Eiling. It isn't your fault. Dr. Wells told Ronnie, he still believes you both have the secrets to the ultimate human weapon. Alright, I'll go find the professor and Clarissa and bring them both here. Naruto remarked, it won't be safe with Eiling after him. Stein is fine, Ronnie said. How do you know? The narrator asks. Cisco was curious. He's standing right there, Ronnie said as they all turned to see the professor standing by the doorway. I don't think Mr. Raymond and I are as distinctive as we had hoped, he said. They took the two to one of the labs to do testing to see what was wrong, and brain scans revealed that their brainwaves were synchronized while Naruto went to check on something. I'm still inside Ronald, Stein said, but I'm not inside Ronald. There's got to be a better way to say that, Cisco observed, and Barry laughed. That is almost certainly not going to happen, Caitlin explained. All of your brainwaves are perfectly in sync. Beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Remember how impossible just another Tuesday is for us? Brian asked. Yeah, but this is Twilight Zone stuff, Cisco pointed out. And I say that knowing full well that we have a guy locked up in our basement who can turn himself into poison gas. Wait, are you sure? Ronnie asked. Cisco said, dude, that was like week 3. Look, if this Eiling is as dangerous as you say, then I need to warn Clarissa, Professor Stein said as Naruto walked into the room. Don't worry, Professor. She's already safe somewhere. I've made arrangements for her to continue living at the shelter where I live. She's completely safe, and Tsunade and Shizune, along with Linda, will look after her, Naruto stated. She's completely safe, but there's some information I think you should know. I did a little digging and I think I might have found something interesting, Naruto remarked, bringing up Ronnie's scans and displaying his DNA, which contained a gene aberration. You mean I'm a meta? Ronnie said, to which Naruto nodded. Join the club, Naruto replied. But, as far as I can tell, no other symptoms appear to be present, but I did manage to isolate a genome that I believe is the genetic cause of meta powers. Cisco remarked, oh, nice name. So, the same gene that changed in Ronnie is also changed in all of the other metas affected by the accelerator? Brian wondered. Yeah. I only had time to test it against the known meta DNA we have, which is us and the people we've imprisoned, and the genome is present, thus I've discovered the root source of meta powers. But that's not why I mentioned it, Naruto clarified, alluding to Professor Stein's scans, which found unusual chemical activity. Dear God, Stein screamed as he looked down at his body, the firestorm is still active. Active and inside your body, Naruto explained. When the particle accelerator exploded, the dark matter that collided with the firestorm matrix latched onto the professor, who was the closest living vessel. As a result, his body's molecular activity has changed. All of those highly reactive chemicals needed to bind with something in order to stabilize, or else the professor would have gone nuclear that night. That's where I came in, explained Ronnie. Exactly. You effectively served as a grounding mechanism for Firestorm, allowing it to stabilize before the reaction fused the two of you into one. Despite the fact that we separated the two of you, Firestorm is still alive in some ways, Naruto continued. Would that explain why Ronnie the professor was present and why the professor was aware Ronnie was in danger? Caitlin wondered. Probably. Who knows what could have happened after you two were bonded for almost 14 months. Even if we separated you two, both of you are vital components of Firestorm, so perhaps it's a defensive mechanism between the two to ensure its longevity. While the professor stayed at Star Labs with Naruto and Cisco, Barry drove Ronnie and Caitlin to Joe's. Dr. Wells was nowhere to be found, having gone to see General Eiling without informing the others. He was led into the covert military base where Eiling was conducting his own private science experiment that had not been approved by Army higher-ups. Dr. Wells entered Eiling's office to find him holding an ice pack to his check and signing forms at his desk, most likely for more unlawful testing approvals. Harrison. Wells said, "Wait. I had a feeling you'd be passing by. Are you pleased with your protege getting the upper hand on us?" Eiling questioned, as Harrison remained mute. "Did you believe that just because Impulse wears a mask, it can cover his spiky hair? It's something I'd recognize anywhere. You've come to hand him over so he can get his mind to focus on something essential. You know I'd never let that happen. Naruto would never work for you," stated Wells. "Well, soon enough. I won't give him a choice," Eiling explained, "so get me what I want if you want to save your little protege." "I'm not sure how Firestorm works," confessed Wells. "No, but you both can get me what I need. Thanks to you, Harrison, a new age has begun. The Cold War was followed by the War on Terror. When those two freaks are bound together, we'll look like cavemen battling with sticks," Eiling stated, while Wells couldn't believe he was serious about all of this. "Well, you'll know where to find me when you want to hand those two over. Harrison, I recognize you. After all, you're the wisest person I know. And you know you're not going to win this war." Line break XXXXX. While Naruto was still doing tests at Star Labs, Barry was with Joe, Caitlin, and Ronnie. He was finishing up another round of tests when he noticed the monitor in the Cortex playing the local news, which was covering the attack at Jitters. While eyewitnesses said it was men in army uniforms attacking the shop, no official statement from the army had been issued, which sparked an idea in Naruto. He was well aware that the army would never allow such an incident to occur on U.S. soil. The Posse Comitatus Act restricts federal troop deployment on U.S. soil and would never enable the army to fire a single shot when innocent civilians were in the way. Sure, the Army National Guard may be called in, but it is normally for enforcement during governor-issued emergencies or anything ridiculous like a nuclear strike scenario. And Eiling was not a member of the National Guard. Eiling's entire unit was probably off the books for this, but if word came out about what happened, Eiling's entire career could be over, and Naruto just found out a method to get rid of him. Naruto had just completed constructing some devices for his little plot when Professor Stein walked in. "Professor, did you need anything?" "I just wanted to stretch my legs a little. I've been walking around, and this is a very impressive facility," Stein said. "And we've been putting it to good use in keeping this city safe. But that's not all we've done," Naruto explained, motioning him over to show him the arc reactor's monitor. Stein analyzed the data and was surprised by what he saw. The energy generation was incredible for something so small. "What exactly is it?" Stein wondered. "It's known as the arc reactor. It was the first of its kind to be created. A tremendous achievement in clean, renewable energy that generates the same amount of electricity as 3 nuclear power plants while producing no waste or dangers. The idea came from my parents. When I arrived at Star Labs, Dr. Wells assisted me in figuring out how to make it work. It's been running Star Labs for the past week, Naruto said. You've just opened the next chapter in clean and renewable energy, Naruto. This reactor has the ability to eliminate humanity's reliance on fossil fuels and finite resources. You've done something that the greatest minds on the planet have been tackling for years, Stein stated, explaining that science was all about supporting humanity and moving forward in the right direction, and Naruto's arc reactor was a big step in that direction. That's not all I've been working on. Naruto pressed a few buttons, bringing up the schematics, blueprints, and equations for all of his other projects, which ranged from his defense projects to early chemical formulas for a man-made bacterium that would eat away at plastic and foam for environmental repair. I could benefit from the assistance of another bright scientific mind to assist me with the science. I'd be delighted, Stein replied as he sat down to work at his computer. Alright, I'll be right back. I just need to get something, Naruto replied as he grabbed his jacket and departed Star Laboratories, pulling out his phone and contacting Linda. Linda inquired. Yes, I did. Are you sure about that? This appears to be extremely risky, Linda cautioned. Don't worry. Everything should be fine after this, Naruto remarked, smirking as he hung up the phone and exited the elevator. Naruto approached the city and came to a halt in an alleyway, leaping into a dumpster and waiting for a few minutes alone, playing Candy Crush on his phone. He laughed as army jeeps came and a squad of army men stepped out in formation with assault rifles, coming into place and aiming their weapons at him after around 10 minutes. Naruto paused his game and looked at the time on his phone. It took you about 11 minutes to get here. Honestly, I thought it would take half the time. Naruto smiled as two soldiers yanked him from the bin and led him over to Eiling. Geez, talk about military action that has gone too far. Where has Firestorm gone? Asked Eiling. I honestly have no idea what you're talking about, but even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. Naruto replied, looking at Eiling's men and seeing the street camera turn towards them. Take him, Eiling said, as one of the soldiers wrapped a black bag around his head before cuffing his hands behind his back and dragging him into the jeep. Naruto's phone was thrown on the ground, and he was thrown into a jeep. As everything went as planned, Naruto grinned beneath the bag over his head. He drove for almost an hour before the jeep slowed and then stopped, most likely having been dragged into whatever hidden base Eiling was operating from. He was dragged from the jeep and led into the facility, where he was forced into a chair with his hands bound to the armrests. Wow, those are some lovely digs. What, the Bates Hotel didn't have any rooms available? Naruto joked. You know, I figured someone like you, who has his head so far up his ass that he can see his colon, has got to be concerned about all the noise you made in the city. The public knows only what we see fit to tell them, Eiling said. Wow, way to earn the public's trust, Naruto remarked, and you know you're going to get in trouble for the way you ordered your men in the city. Last I checked, the Posse Comitatus Act effectively prohibits the army from operating on U.S. soil in the manner that you do, and once news gets out, you can expect a military court-martial, Naruto added. The less Uncle Sam knows, the better for the rest of the country. We do a lot of things that we don't report on, Eiling said. Does the army do that, or just you? Naruto wondered. Look, I don't mind the wonderful accommodations you've put me in, but are you going to let me go anytime soon? You've given me no reason. Don't I? You know, your mentor came by to try and keep you all safe, especially you, Eiling grinned, while Naruto remained cool. And I was more than willing to do it in exchange for one thing. Firestorm, also known as Martin Stein and Ronald Raymond. Even if I knew something about it, I'm not going to tell you anything, Naruto said. Well, you can either give me what I want and give me Firestorm, or I can reorganize my efforts into a new project. Super soldiers with super speed like yours, Eiling remarked, raising an eyebrow from Naruto. Now that I have you, I'm thinking I can shift my focus from warriors who can control fire to soldiers who can break the sound barrier in their boots. That would be an incredible achievement, but I highly doubt you'll be able to pull it off, Naruto remarked. I'm not sure about that. When I set my sights on something, I never let go, Eiling explained. I'm not doubting your tenacity or craziness. I'm doubting your scientific abilities and, to that extent, the people you employ, Naruto stated, adding, there's no way any of those hacks could even come close to replicating what I can do. You could be right. Your IQ should beat all of my scientists if your genetics are true, so why not put it to good use? You could use your mind to do great things for your country, Eiling advised. You're right, I do want to use my mind to help this country. But not through war, Naruto said, and to be honest, if I wanted to work with you, I'd be selling my soul to the devil. A line is not something that exists. I'm sorry, but it was unavoidable. I guess we'll have to do it the hard way. Eiling nodded to one of his men, who opened the door to the room, and two men and a woman in suits entered, the woman unfolding a massive baton with a taser on the end. Do you worse, asshole, Naruto mocked. I will. I did this to a gorilla the last time, Eiling said as the woman startled him, causing Naruto to scream. While Eiling torments Naruto, Dr. Wells entered the lab hoping to see Naruto but instead ran into Professor Stein. Professor, where is Naruto? He said. He took a small pause. I must admit that your protege has come a long way since my classroom, Stein observed, glancing at some statistics on a tablet. He has it. He's also gifted with youth, so he could easily outperform both of us in the near future, Dr. Wells added. Dr. Wells. We have a problem, Cisco exclaimed as he dashed into the cortex. What exactly is it, Cisco? He said, as Cisco dashed over to the monitors, which displayed CCTV images of Naruto being hauled away by the army. Dear God, Stein cried in horror. As he watched the army guys drag Naruto away, place a bag on his head, and dump him into the jeep, Dr. Wells' grip tightened and he almost leapt up in wrath before turning to Cisco. About a half hour ago, Cisco stated, I attempted to contact Naruto, but when he did not respond, I tracked down his phone, which was in that alley. I backed up CCTV footage and discovered that. Cisco, contact Barry, Caitlin, Ronnie, and Linda right away and have them come to Star Labs right away, Dr. Wells remarked as Cisco began to work. What could Eiling have wanted from Naruto? Stein wondered. If I had to guess, either he wants Naruto's assistance with Firestorm or he intends to replicate Naruto's powers for his own use, Dr. Wells hypothesized. God help us all if Eiling actually does that, Stein worried. The rest of the group quickly entered the cortex, fearful that Eiling would kidnap Naruto. We'll be able to reclaim him, right? Brian wondered. We will, Barry, but we must proceed with caution. Eiling is not to be trifled with, and your previous encounter with him shows that he has already developed weapons to deal with the Flash, Dr. Wells stated. Where do you think Eiling took Naruto? Caitlin wondered. Dr. Wells replied, I imagine some off-the-books military research facility. Cisco replied, we need to get him back. I'm surprised they took him at all. Why didn't he just fight or flee before they arrived? Ronnie inquired, which was a valid concern when Dr. Wells observed Linda wasn't overly agitated or in a screaming mess. As he expected if Naruto had been stolen, she was too preoccupied with her phone. Is everything okay, Ems Park? Dr. Wells queried as the others stared at her like a deer in headlights. Unless something else is going on, I'd assume the news of Naruto's kidnapping would come as more of a surprise to you. Exactly what do you mean? Brian inquired. Naruto said you'd figure it out soon, Linda said, causing Dr. Wells to grunt in exhaustion and irritation. What exactly is going on? Caitlin wondered. Naruto wasn't kidnapped by Eiling. He went willingly, which I can only assume was some sort of ridiculous plan to deal with the situation, explained Dr. Wells. Does he have a mental illness? He is well aware of Eiling's risk. Why would he do such a thing? Linda was perplexed. Don't even look at me. I tried to talk him out of it, but Naruto is unstoppable once he puts his mind on something. He told me that the only way to get Eiling out of Central City and away from Professor Stein and Ronnie for good would be if the Armed Services Committee and Army top brass found out what he'd done, Linda added. And how can we do that? Stein wondered. Well, I'm actively working on it. Naruto offered me a code that allowed me to obtain a copy of the CCTV footage from Jitters. Eiling believes his employees removed the tape, but I obtained it. That, along with the footage of him kidnapping Naruto, has already been circulating the internet, and it won't be long before we acquire the final piece of the puzzle, Linda stated when the computers received an alert. Something is connected to the Star Lab server and is uploading a lot of information, Cisco said as he examined the files, which turned out to be confidential military records, as he sat at his computer and opened the alert. Exactly what is it? Caitlin wondered. Military documents, Cisco said, inspecting them and discovering they were all highly sensitive documents about General Eiling and his illegal army actions, ranging from unethical and illegal animal experiments at Star Labs to repurposing military funds for unapproved weapons development and genetic experiments. Every evil thing he's committed with his army's resources. Illegal experimentation, unauthorized seizures, and a slew of other acts that clearly violate the Geneva Convention. Naruto just provided us with our smoking gun against Eiling. If this comes to light, he can kiss his career and power goodbye, Barry observed, adding, he realizes how insane this plan was.
There you have Naruto for you. There is no profit if there is no risk. Now I've got a story to write on this, Linda said as she pointed to Cisco, who uploaded all of the information and security camera footage to the internet. Something tells me that my editor will want a piece on his desk before the end of the day, and fortunately for me, I have a head start. If he didn't return soon away, Naruto said there will be consequences with the data transfer.
I got him. He's about 100 miles from town, Cisco explained after examining an information package. Barry, Dr. Wells said, get him back in one piece. Barry nodded and reached for his suit. I'll accompany you, said Ronnie. Caitlin cut him off, saying, Ronnie, no, you're exactly what Eiling wants. You can't leave. Caitlin, Naruto risked his life to stop Eiling, and he doesn't even know who I am. I have to try to help, Ronnie said. No, Ronnie, she's right, and there'll be a lot of soldiers there, and you don't have any powers, Barry replied. No, he doesn't, but with me he does. Stein took a step closer, and everyone looked puzzled. While I've been here at Star Labs, I've looked over Naruto's notes and data on Firestorm, and every single conclusion he came up with points to an eventual re-emergence for both halves of Firestorm. Look, Caitlin, Barry was correct. The world has changed. I thought we could run away and start a new, regular life together, but there is no such thing as a normal life for us. You'll always put your life on the line to help others, and I'll always be the guy who rushes into that pipeline for you. I need to assist Barry in getting Naruto out of there and making sure he's safe, Ronnie explained. The quantum splicer. Cisco reached for it on the workbench and handed it to him. It was originally used to separate you, therefore it might be good to keep you together, Cisco said. Thank you. Ronnie mumbled as Caitlin kissed him on the cheek for good luck and protection in case something bad happened. Caitlin said, come back, all four of you. When Ronnie activated the quantum splicer and placed it on his heart, the energy pads and sensors stretched across his back and chest, just as they had the previous time. Pay attention to what I'm saying. You two fought the last time you two were together. Don't do it this time. Accept the change, the balance, and each other, Dr. Wells stated. Once more unto the breach, dear friend, Stein answered, and Ronnie nodded. They got in close and began to materialize as light and gas before combining once more. Ronnie arrived with flames in his fists and white eyes. Caitlin queried, Ronnie? He said, I'm here, Kate. Can you hear me, Ronald? Stein inquired from Ronnie's mind. Professor? He asked. It appears that we merged properly on this attempt. Wells was correct about balance and acceptance, and we now have a comrade to rescue, Stein stated. Let's go. Firestorm said as Barry changed quickly into his uniform and the two set off for the military facility. Naruto has returned. Naruto shouted, Arg! After being zapped for the 16th time in a succession. The shocking abruptly stopped, giving him a little reprieve from the misery. Even with his healing and incredible endurance, it stung. Eiling is the only one who has tormented taser sticks. Naruto took a few deep breaths as Eiling got in his face. Well. You demonstrate remarkable grit for a scientist, but I shouldn't have expected anything less. You'd make a great soldier, Eiling observed. If that's all your flunkies have, Naruto pointed out, then you need to hire new people. You're still cracking jokes, but don't worry, I'll drill those out of you just like I do with every new recruit to my battalion, Eiling said, laughing. When one of Naruto's scientists entered the room, he said, unfortunately, you won't get the chance. Sir, you must see this, he continued, handing Eiling a tablet with local news on it. Eiling discovered that all of his military secrets, including footage of his attack on Jitters and practically all of his immoral and brutal experiments, had been released on the internet. The army immediately issued a statement criticizing all of Eiling's actions as illegal and stated that he will be investigated and prosecuted. Oh, is there something wrong with Eiling? Maybe some secrets got out that you didn't want to? Naruto cracked a joke. Eiling inquired, what exactly did you do? Did you really think you'd run into me in that alley and that I wouldn't have a plan for all of this? Naruto grinned. I mean, you're talking to one of the world's greatest pranksters, and just because I haven't pulled a prank in a long time doesn't mean I've lost my touch. I had a secret virus that began uploading into your entire system and mapping it completely the second you drew me into your little secret base. I named it Technivore and created it with the assistance of a Starling City hacker acquaintance. It got beyond all of your security mechanisms and downloaded every single dirty secret you had before uploading it to the internet. Eiling became enraged and ordered his men to delete any evidence. In the split second that Eiling turned away, Naruto vibrated the arm rests to which he was tied and removed a few screws. Eiling then turned back to Naruto, aiming his pistol towards his head. "Well, if the cat's out of the bag, I won't need you," Eiling commented, poised to shoot, but Naruto grabbed on the chair's left arm rest, tearing it off. He kicked Eiling away and hit him in the face. He grasped the chair's second arm rest just as one of the suit-clad men charged up and hit him in the throat, kicked out his left leg, and slammed him in the face. He swung around, smacked the armrests into the other guy and lady in suits, then kicked the scientist in the face, knocking him out. As Eiling reached for the gun, Naruto kicked it away. "You really should do regular maintenance on those chairs," Naruto stated before knocking him out with an armrest smack to the head. He vibrated his hands and broke the restraints before grabbing Eiling's keycard. "It's now time to put the plan into action." Naruto was walking down the hallway after leaving the interrogation room when he was stopped at gunpoint by two soldiers. They ordered Naruto to freeze when an alarm went off. "I guess my friends showed up," Naruto remarked as he drew closer to the troops, kicking one in the groin and elbowing the other in the face. He shoved the soldier against the wall, struck him in the side, grabbed his assault rifle and aimed it at the other soldier before kicking his foot and causing the other soldier to mistakenly shoot the pistol, injuring him in the arm. Naruto grabbed the soldier's gun and smacked him in the head, knocking him out, before spinning around and smashing the second guy in the face with the gun like a baseball bat. Naruto put down the handgun and took out the disguised phone in his shoe to check on the Technivore virus, which had just finished disabling the internal security cameras. "Nice. I can now stretch my legs." Naruto began racing across the base, tying up all of the soldiers, technicians, and scientists while grabbing all of the hardcopy data he desired and preventing Eiling's men from wiping anything. He then went into the main data room and erased all information about metahumans, the Central City speedsters, and Star Labs, as well as all weapon designs for metahuman captivity. Naruto walked out of the base to discover all of the troops either tied up or sleeping, and all of their vehicles had turned into blazing heaps of metal and fire. When he looked around, he noticed Barry and Ronnie. "Hey, guys, what took you so long?" Naruto was curious. "We were a little busy with everything here, and after your Snowden moment, the soldiers weren't too fond of intruders," Barry added. "Ronnie?" Naruto questioned. "Is that your name?" "Both of us, we figured out the Firestorm thing," Ronnie said. "And just in time, too," remarked the professor, "and I must say, we did a very good job." "Well, I got everything we needed and made sure Eiling didn't have anything on us, so let's get out of here," Naruto said as he, Barry, and Ronnie flew away. The rest of the team was waiting in the Star Laboratory for Naruto and Barry to return when they heard two whooshes of air. Linda ran over to hug him, relieved that he was all right. "Hey, I'm fine," Naruto responded. Linda slammed him in the gut, breaking the hug. "Don't ever come up with a stupid plan like that again," she remarked as Naruto paused. Wheezing in pain, "Of course, honey," Naruto said. While Naruto took a few deep breaths and made sure he didn't puke, the others gave him some space. When he saw Dr. Wells give him his patented "you're in trouble" stare, he swallowed the lump in his throat and stood up. "I sincerely apologize for causing you concern, Dr. Wells." "Are you all right?" he inquired. "No, I'm fine. I've had a few scrapes, but I'm fine. I got nothing from you, Eiling," Naruto said. "I couldn't care less about it and am more concerned with the fact that you are safe. I would warn you not to do something like that again, but knowing you, that's a tall order. I'm just relieved you're okay." Dr. Wells shook his hand and smiled. "More than fine. We finally got one over on Eiling, and now Betty Sans Susi and many other people will get justice for what he did," Naruto said as he turned to face Ronnie. "I also wiped out any digital or hardcopy traces of Firestorm, so no one will be after you too." "Thank you very much, Naruto," Ronnie expressed gratitude. "So, it's nice to see that the merging of you two went better this time, but can you reverse it?" Linda was curious. "If you're interested, Mr. Raymond," Stein said. "We could try," Ronnie said. Everyone took a few steps back as Ronnie took a deep breath and concentrated. The quantum splicer fell harmlessly to the ground as he began to blaze vivid red like fire. "I think we're getting the hang of this," Stein said. Caitlin encircled Ronnie as the two lovers enjoyed in each other's embrace. "So, now that Eiling is no longer after you, what do you plan to do?" Barry was curious. "I believe we should return to our lives, but I believe there is something we should do first," Stein said. "And what's that?" Sisko was curious. "Learn to master our new abilities. If this is going to be our new normal, Ronald and I should be made aware of what we can do," Stein explained. "You're lucky, you have all of Star Labs to help you out," Naruto said as he calmed him. "And I truly am grateful for that, Naruto," Stein said, smiling. "However, if Ronald is okay with it, perhaps a quick trip to Pittsburgh first." "Why, what's in Pittsburgh?" Caitlin inquired. "An old colleague of mine named Shiloh Norman. He is an expert in quantum nuclear energy and assisted me with Project Firestorm. He might be able to help us better comprehend and master our abilities. After that, we'll return to Star Labs," Stein stated. "I don't think it'll take more than a few weeks." Ronnie gave Caitlin and Stein a brief glance. "Don't worry, Dr. Snow. I assure you that we will return," Stein assured her. "Okay," Ronnie said as he turned to face Caitlin. "I know you'll be back," Caitlin said softly, kissing him once more. "How about you leave tomorrow, and we celebrate with dinner tonight," Naruto said. "That sounds good to me, Professor." Ronnie was curious. "Why not? As the kids say, we'll party like it's 1969. "I'll get Clarissa," Stein said as he left with Barry to find her. Naruto visited his personal laboratory to keep some goods. He quickly scanned the corridor to verify he was alone before connecting the hidden phone to the computer to upload the information he acquired from Eiling's lab. He flipped over the files, focusing on two in particular: Pre-Particle Accelerator Metahumans and the 9. Eiling knew something about the 9, and the information he possessed could lead him to his parents' murderer. Sisko yelled, "Naruto, we're leaving." "I'm coming," Naruto replied as he turned off the computer and walked away. Stein and Ronnie were departing the next morning, leaving her and Ronnie with one night. They wouldn't be gone long if they could get some help from Firestorm. Naruto understood a lot thanks to his research and data, but Stein and Ronnie needed an expert to really handle and understand their new abilities. Team Flash was doing well, but General Eiling was not doing so well. Eiling's destiny was sealed with all of the stolen facts and Linda's scathing piece fanning the fire. Eiling had been officially relieved of duty and was now being investigated by JAG Court for a variety of criminal charges, including illegal use of military funds, unauthorized weapons development, illegal and unsanctioned military operations on U.S. soil, illegal human experiments, and a slew of other offenses. Even with the best JAG lawyer in the world, Eiling will not walk away with a not guilty verdict. To be continued.
That's it for this podcast. Thanks for listening to this video. If you did enjoy this part of the story, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for help and support, and have a great day.